Your continuous desire to see what people are doing is hurting you. Your hand unconsciously reaches for the phone. Following a 10-minute conversation is torture. You feel dumber than a few years ago and you don't know why. You do increasingly more but accomplish less. You're very busy, but you're not producing quality work. The issue is they've seized your attention. Your attention muscle is atrophied and you've come to this video to fix it. Today, you'll make routine changes to double your attention span. You're going to learn to want to use your mobile phone less. Yes, you heard right, you'll want to use it less. You'll discover a few tools that have evidence to regain your attention. You want to bypass the video and switch to a more engaging and less mentally taxing one, correct? That only tells us that we are facing a social problem that requires attention. So, let's pay attention to it. First, comprehend the issue. Your ability to sustain attention on an element is a skill that your prefrontal cortex performs. Unlike most skills, it can be trained, but it also atrophies quickly. What you need to know perfectly is what trains it and what atrophies it. Swiftly shifting focus from one thing to another deteriorates it. Staying for long periods of time on an object of attention trains it. If you notice, our digital environment is loaded with elements that enhance jumping attention. Instant messaging, aggressive advertising, an overloaded feed, increasingly shorter vertical videos, and endless information inputs fighting for your attention. You're continually mentally jumping from one place to another. It's not your fault. Today, it's easier to be inattentive given our environment's heightened attack on attention. Now let's see how to solve this once and for all and regain control. We will differentiate between two types of tools, those that achieve results very quickly but are not long-lasting, and those that achieve long-lasting results but require more time. Attack instant gratification. We call instant gratification a pleasurable, intense, and very brief stimulus generated by gestures like opening Instagram stories and seeing what people are doing, opening your portfolio of stocks, indexed funds, or cryptocurrencies, scrolling through the news, or simply deciding what you're going to watch tonight on Netflix, home box office, or Disney+. All these actions release dopamine, a molecule that drives you, sometimes unconsciously, towards actions with potential rewards. A note: dopamine is not the molecule of pleasure. It is the molecule that drives you to avoid the discomfort generated by an unresolved expectation of pleasure. How can you resist instant gratification with your smartphone? I've been personally using a usage timer for about 6 months. Your mobile phone has the free ability to set timers on each application. That is, select a daily time limit after which that application will close, preventing its use until the next day. In this way, I have greatly limited the use of applications like Instagram or TikTok, which I can only use for 15 minutes each day. And yes, obviously I could go into the settings and undo the timers, but I'm supposed to want to improve my focus, do things right, and I'm committed to that. This isn't suitable. Let's proceed to the next step. Increase the activation cost. I saw Sergio Peinado using this application and I thought it was a very good idea. It's called 1sec and it sets a period of about 10 seconds of time lapse from when you press the application icon until it opens. You will be surprised to find that many times when you have to wait, you give up on trying to use the application. Closing it out of boredom feels less painful than waiting 10 seconds for the potential stimulus in your feed. You're brilliantly using your craving for immediacy against itself. In fact, the app has a study published in Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences where it shows a 57% reduction in use, more than half, when using the app. It's an amazing outcome, effective for 2 reasons. First, it raises awareness of the unintentional, casual, and unconscious use we make of networks. Many times you will have found yourself constantly checking the feed. On the other hand, it creates friction, making use less attractive. If it's not suitable, there's more. Applications that transform your device into a dumb phone. If none of the above works for you, there are apps that go a step further and turn your phone into an old-fashioned brick. A dumb phone or a stupid mobile? It's a phone with a minimalist interface. No colors, no flashy icons. Or that even only allows you to take incoming calls, make calls, and little else. Obviously, this is reversible. For example, we have before for Android and blank spaces for iOS, among others. The goal of these is to increase your desire not to use the phone. How? By making it less stimulating, more monotonous, and less user-friendly. In other words, making real life seem more appealing than your mobile phone once and for all. The complete reverse of what we're negatively used to. It's paradoxical that we've had to develop technology to limit the possibilities that technology offers us. My second immediate proposal today is to diminish your availability. Hyper-availability kills focus. Understand this well. Checking email or WhatsApp gives a satisfying dopamine spike, as you're already aware. It's a variable reward. Someone could have sent me an interesting proposal or email. That person could have written to me. A package could be on its way, or I might have to pick it up. I could be missing something. That's a variable reward. This has a consequence. We quickly become addicted to checking our messages. And compulsively checking email is unproductive, costly, and deteriorates your concentration muscle. There are studies that claim that during the workday, we check our email on average every 7 minutes. Even worse is the use we make of instant messaging apps, whichever one you use. The main problem is that every time you stop doing what you're doing to answer a message, you're diverting valuable and costly cognitive resources to refocus on the initial task. Focus requires gaining momentum, and this momentum is often buried by the compulsive and immediate response to messages. Think of concentration as a cognitive state that is hard to get started, like a train, but once it's going, it's also easy to maintain if you don't get distracted. However, with each distraction, you have to get it going again, and that requires resources. The solution is straightforward and refined. Check your email once a day, at the time you decide, but once a day. I do it first thing, answer what's urgent, and get to work. You can do it when you decide. And regarding instant messaging, check it 2, 3, or 4 times a day, but not ad libitum, that is, not whenever you feel like it. The previous apps will help you with that. Changes with medium-term results. Pay attention to your attention. That same prefrontal cortex prone to distraction can be strengthened with the right practice. If leaping attention makes you more prone to distraction, sustained attention on one element makes you more resistant to it. And what other name do we call focusing on one element for sustained periods of time, whether it's a candle, a mantra, our breath, or the space from which thoughts arise? Indeed, meditate. Dr. Martin Asuero, a pioneer in scientific mindfulness and protagonist of one of the deepest episodes of Better Than Yesterday, wonderfully explained to us that there are 2 types of mindfulness practices. This episode will be on the channel very soon. Notice one detail. Advanced meditators have a much more trained prefrontal cortex, which is evident in functional imaging tests. I was mentioning there are 2 intriguing types of practices. Formal practices are the ones we all know. We sit down to practice meditation for the desired time following a predefined technique. In my case, I focus on my breathing for 20 minutes, letting the thoughts that come to me pass and trying not to get involved in them. By the way, it's not easy, and there are also informal practices. These practices would release mental garbage and can be performed in many ways. Washing dishes with mindfulness during a walk or even while training. Simply that the goal of whatever you're doing is not to finish the task, which is the most common goal, but to do it with full awareness. Take your time, do less. I recommend a book. It's called Slow Productivity by Carl Newport. One of the essential points of it is to do fewer things. Mind you, don't confuse doing fewer things with achieving fewer things. Newport's main thesis is that frenetic activity, sometimes called massive action, deeply diminishes the quality of our work. In this way, many workers are waking up to a reality. When they commit to fewer projects, fewer video conferences, work fewer hours, and leave more time for leisure, they produce better work. Has this occurred to you? We'll discuss it more later. In summary, eliminate useless meetings and video calls. Say no more easily to the multitude of proposals that come to you, and be very selective with the projects you get involved in. It's your health and your focus, also your job, that's at stake. Balance time with technology, with time in nature, and without technology. Nature is naturally slow. It is devoid of so many stimuli. Here, everything proceeds at a slower pace. Nature baths, however, without the mobile phone in your pocket, are a good antidote against speed. If you have nomophobia or fear of not having your mobile phone in your possession, this will seem like madness to you. But the real madness is that not having your mobile phone seems like madness to you. Try to end the day with a 1-hour walk without a phone. Inform them of your plans and arrival time. Don't go through dangerous areas, and you'll see that absolutely nothing will happen to you. Train. This is nothing more than the 25th reason why you should train. Training focuses you both during the workout and in the hours afterwards. How does it do this? Well, there are behavioral changes and others we could say biochemical. One of the neurochemical changes is the increased production of brain-derived neurotrophic factor alpha, a molecule that stimulates neuroplasticity in your brain. This motivates you to keep improving your focus. The increase in brain oxygenation secondary to the mobilization of blood in the central nervous system evidently improves the functionality of neurons and glia. But then there are behavioral reasons that are even simpler. When you train, especially when you train high intensity or your training requires complex technical skills, what happens? You can only do that. That is, if you have to lift a heavy bar over your head, you can only do that. Running at 3.30, you can only do that. Jumping rope or doing a bar plus the app, you can't check your phone. Neither can you while swimming. These and meditation are the two scientifically proven methods for improved concentration. Now you have more tools to double your attention span, and this is the best investment you can make in your life. Thanks for your presence and attention. See you in the next video. Big hug. Keep empowering.